Hey guys, I'm gonna try to speak really loud. I don't have a boom mic with me. As promised, I'm gonna shoot a video talking about like my observation and how I feel about things. This is like I'm 47. I'm gonna be 48 soon, and this is the first time something like this happened, and it's kind of scary for me, and I think it's kind of scary for a lot of people also. And it kind of showed because the supermarket is like empty in some cases and stuff like that. And I just want to tell a little bit about myself and where my perspective is. Charlie probably heard these stories before, and if you're a Facebook friend of mine, you probably know some of my stories. But I'm a former Vietnamese refugee. I left Vietnam around 78 or 70 something. I can't remember. I left when I was 5 and a half. I'm 47. And the first time I left, I got caught. My family got caught. And my father took all the blame. And then my father ended up staying in jail, actually in a hard labor camp. And I didn't see my father till I was like 13 years old. So I left when I was like 5 and a half. And I got to Canada when I was about 8. And I was on a boat for 7 days without food and water. And I ended up living on an island called Palau. That's where they shipped all the refugees to get processed. And I think I was there for about, I can't remember, I was a little kid, maybe 6 weeks, maybe 2 months. And then I got sent to a refugee camp. And but before I got sent to a refugee camp, I was on this island. And at one time, this island blew up to 50,000 people on this one little island. It was an abandoned island. And the Malaysian government didn't know what to do with us. So they just kind of shipped us onto this island. And we kind of had to fend for ourselves. That's where my little sister died. She was, I think, two years old. And anyways, it's kind of scary when you don't have food and water and there's like no government agency. Like you kind of have to fend for yourself. And I feel like I always tell people I'm with, like, hope for the best and plan for the worst. And my wife's kind of very optimistic. And I'm self-employed, and I told my wife, like, I gotta put as much stuff on eBay as possible and hustle and try to sell much stuff because I'm flat broke right now and I gotta make some money because I believe that the postal system might stop working in 2 weeks because if the postal workers start getting sick, then no one's gonna deliver the mail. And then first there's gonna be delay, and then there's gonna be temporary suspension, and then eventually it's gonna get shut down. So I'm hoping that this will run its course by end of May, by summer, and hopefully by then it'll be okay. But I'm really happy that the government's like really doing all these things, you know what I mean? But this is a very scary thing. So I've been watching a lot of videos on like prepping and preparing. So a lot of physical stuff, a lot of gathering food and stuff, right? But a lot of I have not seen any videos about observing people's personality and building communities, right? So I was, so as a refugee, I was on a boat for 7 days with 200 other people, and we were on a little fishing boat. It was not seaworthy, and we were sitting like this for 7 days. Charlie's just sitting like this. We're sitting like this for 7 days, just back and forth, right? And it was kids and women and men. And what I noticed was that the people who really did well on the refugee island were people who had a wit about them and had a fighting spirit, right? Now, everyone did really well. We all survived and stuff. But at the end of the day, it was about building a community. It was about who you can trust, who you can call upon, and who you can get along with, right? And so a couple of days ago on Facebook, this girl, she put up a post about in South Korea, people were lining up in an orderly manner, getting checked for the COVID-19, right? And they were also, there was an orderly manner, right? Very orderly manner in South Korea. And usually whenever there's some kind of chaos in Japan or South Korea, it's usually in an orderly manner. Okay, so I don't know if you guys remember in Katrina, the shit happened and it was total chaos, right? Now, why do one culture, when shit happens, they're in an orderly manner, and then another culture, when shit happens, is like total chaos, right? And I honestly believe it can be deduced, right? And so I teach my students that the most important thing in life is is to understand what happens and create a strategy, right? And so during good time, the business person takes over. During enlightenment time, the spiritual person took over, right? So based on your expertise, you will say this is important. For example, a business owner would say money is the most important thing, okay? And a spiritual person say, well, you got to pray about everything. But Miyamoto Musashi teaches that you got to analyze everything and understand the inner working of things, or strategy, right? And so I thought about this. I'm thinking, like, why do one culture or society function very well during chaos and another society doesn't? And it all boils down to cultural norm, and more so personality type and intelligence, okay? And this is going to offend a lot of people, but let's be honest, there's certain levels of intelligence among cultures. Now, we have to judge people as a group, not individual, but when shit happens, we got to analyze and create social policies based on that. And so I have 2 pieces of paper here that I printed out, and there's 2 different ways to look at personality. Actually, there's more than 2 ways, okay? But there's the Myers-Briggs personality type. If you're in your 30s and 40s, if you apply for a job, a lot of times they make you do this Myers-Briggs personality test, right? And if you don't know what it is, you can look it up. It's the Myers-Briggs personality test. Okay, so that's something that a lot of people are familiar with. But there's another personality type chart that some people are not familiar with. It's called the Big Five, okay? And so the Big Five is, I'm gonna let Charlie read because I'm losing my voice. Can you read this and then the definition for it? It's just really loud.
All right. Extroversion.
Yeah, look at the camera really loud, yeah.
Extroversion, active, assertive, energetic, enthusiastic, outgoing, talkative.
Yeah, let's move up just a little bit. Yeah, okay, and then the next one.
Agreeableness, appreciative, forgiving, generous, kind, sympathetic, trusting. Conscientious, efficient, organized, planning, reliable, responsible, thorough. Neuroticism, anxious, self-pitying, tense, touchy, unstable. Openness, artistic, curious, imaginative, insightful, organized, interests.
Okay, very good. So this camera is flipped, so you might not see the chart correctly, but this is the Big Five, okay? So during time of chaos, out of these 5 personalities, there's a few personalities that work better during time of chaos, okay? And this chart has one element that's missing, intelligence or IQ. So you inject that with high IQ, plus the cultural norm or the majority personality type of that culture or that group that you're part of or that community you're part of will allow you to function during chaos, okay? So what I mean is this, let's just say you're with a group of people who's very neurotic and not very agreeable, okay? And the shit hits the fan. You're gonna have a hard time dealing with these people, okay? There's gonna be chaos, there's gonna be looting, whatever. Combine that with low intelligence, you better get the fuck out of there, okay? It's gonna be killing, shooting, looting, whatever, right? And so in South Korea and Japan, I don't want, I'm gonna get people telling me that I'm racist or whatever, but as an IQ test has been proven time and time again that Asian has slightly high IQ, just slightly, not that much. And we tend to be more agreeable. We tend not to be very open, right? So we're kind of conservative, but we tend to be very agreeable, right? So you can piss off an Asian guy and we'll just smile and say, yeah, okay. Like, you know, we're very agreeable. We tend to be very conscientious. We're always concerned about what people think about us, right? So in the Asian culture, we have Confucius teaching. Our society is built on Confucianism. We'll worry about what our parents think about us, what our boss thinks about us, what our landlord thinks about us. We're so worried about what everyone thinks about us. That's how the Asian culture was developed, right? And so even through time of chaos, they are worried about dishonoring their mother, their father, their grandparents, the government, their boss, right? And so why am I shooting this video? Well, I want this to be out there because I witnessed violence, I witnessed death, I witnessed pain. And during this tough time, everyone's focusing on the physical, but it's all about building communities. It's all about finding like-minded people. And it's all about judging people correctly. I'm not saying judge in a bad way. I'm just saying if you want to build a community, and if certain people are not right, they have to social cohesion, but stigma, or what do you call it? They say, you know what, you're not part of this group because you're not behaving correctly. So they're forced to change their behaviors, right? So if someone's very neurotic and shit is hitting the fan, you don't let them join the group, and now they have to fucking get their act together and can't be neurotic. If someone's not agreeable, you don't let them join the group, because when shit hits the fan, they're going to be very disruptive, right? And so this is my personal belief. This is the time to build communities. This is the time to call all your friends and go out for coffee. This is the time to touch base and figure out where everybody's at. Like Charlie lives on a farm. He just came by and gave me a bunch of eggs. So if shit hits the fan and I don't know where to get eggs, I know who to tap. Okay, I have nothing to offer but self-defense skills and whatever. So anybody wants to learn, like today, I taught my students how to fight with stakes, knife, all sorts of shit, right? And you know, your law enforcement, whatever, you want to learn how to do those things, come talk to me. You know, I want to learn how to use a firearm. I want to do, I mean, you plan for the worst and you hope for the best. And that's all it is, right? So anyways, once again, I know I'm rambling too much, but a lot of preppers on YouTube are talking about, you know, bug out bags, carrying firearm, carrying matchstick, carrying purified water pellets, and etc., right? But when I was on this refugee camp, this refugee island, within a short, small window, communities started being forming, right? And you see this in Survivors, like, you know, the reality TV show, right? And the people who's neurotic, non-agreeable, right? And so my suggestion, I'm not saying you should do it, but if I was me, which I am, I'm gonna start talking to Charlie. I'm gonna start talking to everybody I know and figure out where everyone's at. You know what I mean? Like someone's watching this video right now, he owns a greenhouse. That means more than likely he has plants, he has vegetables. And if you know, you need vegetation or else you get scurvies, you don't get your vitamin C's and D's and all these vitamins from plants. And so right now is the best time to start, you know, stockpiling. Like, you know, people get toilet papers and shit like that. That's fine, but you got to think beyond that. You got to strategize, right? You got to think deeply, and this is the best time to like start. You know, in a modern day society, because we're so highly efficient, we forget to talk to our neighbors. We forget, right? Because everything can be done online now. Like shit, I don't need to talk to Charlie. I can just go on Amazon, right? But you know what? Amazon's going to collapse. The postal system's going to collapse, right? And so this is the time where we should like meet up and go for potluck or whatever, right? You know, obviously you have to worry about social distancing because you don't want to spread the virus and stuff. But right now, there's nothing happening in where we live. We're upstate New York. We live in a small town. And so this is the best time to, you know, hey, let's meet at my gym for coffee. Let's talk. Let's figure out where everything's at. Everybody's at, you know what I mean? For all we know, Charlie may have 5 pigs, right? And if he kills one of his pigs, he can't eat it all. I'm going to trade and barter with him. So this is the time to create relationship with people, right? At the end of the day, it's all about creating a relationship, okay? And let's get back to this chart, okay? If someone's neurotic, you better fucking shut them out, okay? Or they better change their personality, because neuroticism will screw you up. Agreeableness, okay? So if you guys like the videos or whatever, make a comment. And I don't want to, there are certain people I know that are fucking just, they're like the pain in the ass people, and I know because I've been observing, I've been watching, right? I spent the last 16 years training people how to fight, and I watch to see what their personality is like. And you got to be very careful to not let these people into your community, right? Into your life, because when shit hits the fan, they're going to be like a vampire. They're going to suck you dry. And this is why I want to shoot this video, because I feel like this is a way to judge someone, okay? You don't judge people by the color or whatever, but you judge them on the personality type, okay? The 5 personality type. But then you also judge, and then if the shit really hits the fan, you also judge on how intelligent they are, okay? If they're like really stupid and they're non-agreeable and neurotic, and they're part of your community or family, they're gonna fuck everything up. Okay, sorry for all the swearing, but when I was living on a refugee island, it was hell. Okay, my sister died of malnutrition, and it's kind of scary. Like, Charlie, is this one of the scariest things? How old are you now? 35?
33.
33. Is this pretty scary? I mean, every single country has COVID-19, right? They think about shutting down the borders, where we're shutting down the planes. What? You go to the supermarket, it's like, you know what I mean? Is this one of the scariest things? I mean, it's not scary yet. I mean,
No, I get freaked out in stages. It's like people just talking about it and amplifying it. I don't know.
Yeah. So the other thing is this, okay? If you look at Venezuela, right? It went from one of the wealthiest Latin American country to the poorest within a very short window, okay? So it's all about understanding what's going on, creating communities. And the small communities, think of them as little legs. They're gonna help prop the nation, okay? And just by understanding these type of the big five personalities and how people operate in time of chaos, this will help you function, okay? And so if you're watching this video and you think this is helpful to you, make a comment, because I want to shoot more videos like this. And I hope that this will die off, because I'm self-employed, I have no money, and I'm scared shitless. And because my students are canceling memberships on me, because there's a couple of people who work for the school per diem, and I'm worried that they might cancel their membership. What else? There's a whole bunch of shit's going on, you know what I mean? People are gonna lose their job, I apologize, I'm just rambling. I'm gonna, a lot of times I like to touch base with people I'm talking to, because they're like my mirror, and if my message is not clear, they're gonna reflect to me what I just talked about, and it just shows that I did a bad job of expressing myself. So I'm gonna ask Charlie what his thought of what I just, I mean, this is all new to you, right? I mean, what do you think of my conversation?
I've looked into stuff like that before, not the personality things, but just communities and networking and stuff like that. I guess the most functional communities throughout history lived in tribes. Some other people call them different things, but generally the most successful ones were in communities of about 150 people or less.
Yep. So in leadership, right, if you want to be an effective leader, you can only influence 100 people. After that, you're no longer an effective leader. So if you can personally touch the life of 100 people, then you are an effective leader, right? And this is why a good leader needs to have good subordinate, or people who have the same vision as you, but at the same time very intelligent and stuff like that. And so, like what Charlie said, it's about tribe. And when we live in a modern society, we forget all about that. We forget to talk to people. We forget to, like for me, I barter quite a bit because I don't have a lot of money. So my students will, do stuff for me in exchange for free training or whatever, right? Bartering, it's going to be a lifesaver for you. And this is why whenever society collapses or whenever there's communism, you always have the black market. The black market is a form of bartering. It's just that they're using a currency that's not sanctioned by the government. You know what I mean? And so community is so important, and what else did you learn, or what else did you want to talk about today, what we just talked about?
You could even split hairs with all the personality types and stuff like that, and assess people based on language or body language, because a person can fool you in how they act and what they say and stuff, and then when a pinch comes on, you see the real version of them. Yep,
it's true. And also, you can tell, let's just say you have friends or relative or whatever, and you can kind of, know them from their past history. They're neurotic, or they're not agreeable, or they're selfish, right? And I'm not saying don't be their friends, I'm not saying shut them out, but I'm just saying be aware that if the shit hits the fan, your circle gets tighter and tighter and tighter. So in the beginning, you're like, shit, I'm gonna worry about my country. Then you're gonna worry about your town, and then you're gonna worry about the people you know, and then you're gonna worry about, it gets tighter and tighter. Eventually, you're just gonna worry about your family. And that's it, it gets really tight. Now, then that's when the shit really hits the fan. But if you can have a network of family or network of friendship, and you guys watch each other's back, your chance of surviving is much higher. And then if you can expand that much higher, but it's a combination of certain personality type combined with intelligent, okay? And I don't want to be racist or anything, but if you're a fucking retard and you're not agreeable, you're neurotic, you're gonna fuck everything up. That's the reality. I've seen it so many times. You know what I mean? And so here's the thing, okay? I was talking to my wife and daughter. Like, your average American don't know what it's like to be hungry. Your average American don't know what it's like to live on nothing. Your average American don't know what it's like to basically, as a former Vietnamese refugee, I was in a refugee camp. I slept on a wood floor for 2 years with a little straw mat. That was it, right? You know, it's like, you have to say, you know, how low can you go? You know, what are you willing to give up? And some people are unwilling to give up anything. That's like, and it's all about just bare necessity. Now, we live in such a high functional society that hopefully we don't get down to that part. And I hope for God's sake we don't. You know what I mean? But, you know, we're so integrated. Let's think for a second, right? I think at any given moment in time, there's 10,000, maybe more, truck drivers at any moment in time in America driving groceries and electronic items and whatever to grocery stores and stuff, right? When these truck drivers start getting sick, you're gonna see that this warehouse have so much groceries that cannot be distributed, okay? Because all these truck drivers are sick, right? And you're gonna start seeing problems. So I honestly think the government needs to start looking at truck drivers. If shit hits the fan, the government needs to send in the National Guard and start manning distribution units and making sure that truck drivers get to go where they need to go, right? And the government needs to tap into all the distribution network and monitor them and make sure that everything's highly efficient. Because there's certain things that we take for granted that are backbones of modern society, modern America. And if we do not understand these backbones, it's going to collapse really quick. So there's certain backbone structure that we need to make sure is at optimum at all time. That's our electric grid, our water system, our infrastructure for truck drivers. You know what I mean? Those things are so important. Now, here's the other thing. Okay, now if the shit hits the fan, people always say law enforcement shit like that. No, they're gonna run back home, take care of their family. And this is why the First Amendment, Second Amendment, firearm Second Amendment, right? Okay, it's so important. You know what I mean? The ability to defend yourself. Okay. Shit, I'm just rambling.
It's relevant. It's
relevant? Yeah. So I was telling Charlie, you know, water is so important. Water is so important. So I have an eBay business, and literally the last 2 weeks, you know what's been selling for me? Old-fashioned books, like homesteading books on how to build things, books on how to fix things. Okay, people are buying those shit because they realize that if the shit hits the fan, I need to learn how to fix my lawnmower, my washing machine, and whatever, right? And there's so much of them in the junk pile, right? You can't get the newer stuff, but see, if you understand how the product cycle works, there's usually an influx of stuff, right? And then that influx stuff gets thrown in the junkyard or thrown away. And the last few days, I've just been selling so many books on how to fix things, how to build things. Thank goodness I have a whole bunch of them. I'm going to keep some for myself. But there are people who realize that, like I said, plan for the worst, hope for the best. And I think now is the time to stay calm, but also strategize. Because if you don't strategize and you bury your head in the sand, then when the shit hits the fan, it's gonna catch you off guard. Okay, so I want to talk about my experience when I was in the refugee island. The people who did really well were handy. They knew how to build things. They know how to create things. Okay, the people who totally collapsed, I hate to say this, were bookworms. People who were only only knew how to talk and be very nerdy. Okay, and so there's a time and place for this. So I was telling Charlie that maybe not Charlie, a different person.
When you're fighting, it's no time to be a scholar.
Yes. So what happened is right now in American politics, there's a huge dichotomy, like a split between liberal and conservative. And I think it's because it's modern day society, right? And so this is how you can bring it back together. I think this whole COVID-19 is forcing things to come back together. And I hate to say this, but more on the conservative side. And here's the reason why. If you work with your hand, you tend to be more conservative, because when you work with your hand, you're working with reality. You see it. It's now. It's happening now. If you work just with your mind, like you're a script writer or you write poetry, right? You work with your mind. So it's intangible, right? And so the problem is if you just work with your hand, you can't be creative. You can't think too far in the future. If you work with your mind, you lose the touch with reality. And in society, you need both. But when shit hits the fan, you need to face reality. You got to deal with reality right away. And so I think Miyamoto Musashi teach, if you guys like my video, I'm going to shoot another video called Daikodo. That's the 21 precept that's written by Miyamoto Musashi just before he dies. Miyamoto Musashi he's considered the sword saint. He has 70 sword duel to the death. And just before he died, he wrote 21 rules, right, to live by. And one of the rules, one of the sayings, he said that do not worry about the clothing or the food that you have. Okay, learn to survive with just what's on your back, right? And if you're a Christian or you're biblical, Jesus talks about do not worry about food and stuff, right? Be like a thief in the night. And what they're trying to teach you is that you just got to use your mind, your wit, the will to survive, what Mother Nature gave you. You know what I mean? And this is so important because a lot of time even me, our security comes from external, our security comes from money, clothing, food, when it's more important that our security comes from the ability to survive, the ability to outwit someone, the ability to outwit nature, the ability to adapt to the environment, and those are skill set that needs to be developed over a long time. If not, it's also a skill set that can be harnessed. Holy shit, I'm just talking forever. You want to add anything? No? No? All right, no one has commented anything, so hopefully you guys like this video. I'm going to, you want to talk? Yeah. No. Let me talk about this really quick. So, let's going back. The big 5 personalities, look it up, super important. The other ones, the Myers-Briggs personality type, I find that less important in this moment in time. Okay? I find the big 5 more important, and just a recap, avoid people who are neurotic, and the people you want in your group was agreeableness and conscientiousness. Okay? Because when the shit hits the fan and someone's not conscientious, they will take everything for themselves. They will not think about others. They will be very, they'll be very careless. You know what I mean? For example, let's just say you're carrying a bucket of water and they're careless and they spill it. Well, that bucket of water could have lasted you for 4 days. Instead, they spilt it, and now you have one less bucket of water. You know what I mean? And so these are things that are so important. You know what I mean? Anyways, guys, if you know me personally and you want to reach out to me, let's go for a cup of coffee or whatever. It's all about networking. It's all about being the right spirit. You know what I mean? And it's so important to find a group of like-minded people. Because this I don't think this has ever happened before. I mean, I think it happened 70 years ago with the Spanish flu, right? That killed I don't know how many people, like 1 million people or something like that, and that was pretty crazy. And that happened I think 70 years ago or something. Don't quote me on it, but nothing like this has ever happened before. I remember SARS, but SARS there's nothing like this. You know what I mean? Yeah, hopefully things don't get too crazy, but for the public school to shut down for 1 month, it's serious stuff, right? I mean, my daughter's schools being shut down for 1 month.
They won't even close the schools when the weather's terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
People crash and die on the side of the road every year.
Yeah, so I think it's so important. It's the other thing is this: watch your blind spot. Okay, it's a lot of people say, I got my guns, I got my ammos. No. Those are external. Okay, those things are important, but it's about building communities. It's about understanding who you are, how you react to chaos, and it's about understanding how other people react to chaos. And it's about forming strategies to survive through this rough time, okay? Because when I was on the refugee island, it was crazy. It was crazy. Like we had to dig our own wells. We had to. I saw people making stoves out of tin cans. Like literally, they just cut up some tin cans and made stoves. I saw people right away making money or supporting their family because they knew how to bake banh mi or bread, Vietnamese bread. And so they took what little flours they had, or they knew how to make flours, and they made a dirt kiln, like a furnace to bake their flours. You know what I mean? I remember when I was in the refugee island, I was telling my wife, you gotta get beans so you can grow bean sprouts. Bean sprout is so easy to grow. You know what I mean? This is the time to almost learn how to be homesteaders. So, we drive in the little town we live in. We see all these Mennonites and Amish people. They're so self-sufficient. And now, who has the last laugh? They are. They don't rely on anybody. Okay, they're like, fuck you guys, I'm self-sufficient. You know what I mean? And here we are. The shit hits the fan, and what do? We're like helpless. We run to the supermarket, and we're like, shit, we don't know what to do. You know what I mean? And so this is a huge wake-up call. Like, for me, no matter what happened after this, like let's just say 2 months from now, a month from now, everything's back to normal, I'm gonna learn to grow my own vegetable. I'm gonna learn how to skin an animal and stuff like that, because it's about having skill so that you can survive anywhere. Okay, modern men we're too easy. We think survival is going to the grocery store and buying something. You know what I mean? Oh, this brings me up to another point. A lot of us have not been tested mentally, right? Okay? So I train people to fight and stuff, and there are people who think they're so tough, and the minute they hit the mat, hit the ground, get punched in the face, everything falls apart. Okay? So do not be deceived by someone who's really strong, or someone with tattoos all over their body and beat their chest and tell you how strong they are. Okay, because I brought guys into the cage who are full of tattoos, telling me how tough they are. One little hit, it's like a little hit, not even hard, and they're like fucking falling on the ground, crying like a little pussy. You know what I mean? And then I see the other guys who are stand toe to toe, and the other kid not on a stretcher, right? And so, especially for the females and stuff, do not be deceived by outer appearance. The wimpiest guy that looks wimpiest can be the strongest guy, and vice versa, right? So do not take anything face value. You know what I mean? Do the research for yourself, figure it out for yourself, and learn to trust your gut. But the only way to learn to trust your gut is to constantly practice that, exercise that, and after a while you get really good at it.